Hello and welcome in to Pitchcast. It's match day 3 now here in the MLS, so we're going to talk about what's going on with that, everything dealing with this and that, and everything MLS worthy, and also talking about FC Cincinnati. Got the new shirt on as I promised from this week because they have their home opener this week. We'll talk about that, and obviously Columbus Crew, which has another big match themselves coming up as they will have a second home match, but third overall from the beginning. So as a reminder, Pitchcast is your one-stop location to talk everything about FC Cincinnati and Columbus Crew, the two MLS clubs for professional soccer in the state of Ohio. As always, the Ohio Sports Gazette has you covered with everything that you would need for all of those. But obviously, those two are the Ohio professional clubs. So those are the two that we talk about. As always, this is a production of the Ohio Sports Gazette. Obviously, it's tournament time, so this will actually be a more condensed version of Pitchcast because I got things I got to do. I got to watch, Xavier, Cincinnati, and Dayton are all basically playing at the same time. So it's going to be a busy night for me and my wife Chelsea. As we're going to be watching all sorts of games that are going on, so I can give you coverage with that. And obviously, Ohio High School Athletic Association, those games with the boys basketball tournament, those are going on. We got most teams now to the final 8, the Elite 8 in the state. Shout out to my alma mater, Lima Shawnee, who is in the Elite 8 as they got the job last night over Cleveland Central Catholic. So congrats to the Indians from Shawnee with that as well. But yeah, so make sure you're keeping up to date with what's happening here in the state of Ohio. MLS worthy right now. Let's just want to give a shout out here. Congrats to Sporting Kansas City. They're the lone remaining MLS team in the CONCACAF Champions League. They had an impressive 3-0 win at home, which gave them the aggregate, and then that gave them the step to the semifinals. So there's only 4 teams left. 3, I believe, are all from Mexico, and then 1 MLS team. People are making a big deal about Atlanta United beating Monterrey because Monterrey hasn't been beaten in a long time. But Monterrey's home record was, the aggregate, Monterrey still went through. But this is bigger. This is bigger that Sporting Kansas City is the lone representation of the MLS because MLS still is yet to get over that hump with beating those Mexico clubs. So congrats to Sporting Kansas City. We'll see if they can do work against Monterrey here in the semifinals. The other 2 teams, by the way, Santos Laguna and Tigres are the 2 other squads that are on the other side. All right, so quick Midwest March for you. You have Indy 11 and Louisville City both trying to get their first wins on the season. They were both Louisville City was blasted 4-1 by North Carolina FC, and then Indy 11 also lost 2-1. So both of those clubs looking for their wins. That is coming up later tonight, so you can look forward to those. I think you can watch most USL Championship matches on the live stream, so you can check that out tomorrow. Pittsburgh Riverhounds opening up their first match. It's going to be on the road at the Tampa Bay Rowdies. I've been to that stadium, Outland Stadium, beautiful stadium. I can't think of another, a great place to watch soccer. You can look right across and see the Tampa Bay. So amazing atmosphere down there, and I know the Rowdies are going to be rowdy. Well, Ralph's Mod and Bob and that whole crew. All right, your European electives. Quickly, we'll go through them. Scottish Premiership, you have Rangers, who's in second with 59 points. You got Kilmarnock, who is in fourth with 50 points. I love the fact they have like squirrels on their crest. I think that's kind of cool. But this is more or less basically to see if Rangers can kind of try and stay pace with Celtic. Right now, Kilmarnock is going to try to also maybe creep in there and get a few more points. We'll see how that all transpires. This 2 from League One now, French League. Lyon is in third with 50 points. And Montpellier is in 7th with 42. So you have kind of a clump here. Obviously, PSG is way ahead. And then Lille, a little bit ahead of Lyon. And then Lyon and some other folks, you can see just an 8-point gap here to 7th. So that's going to be an interesting one to see if Lyon can stay pace or if other teams are going to try and catch him for Champions League. The other big one, Paris Saint-Germain in first with 74 points. Marseille is in fourth with 47 points. As I mentioned before, PSG is way ahead of everyone in the French league. But some of these other teams are battling for that Champions League spot. So if Marseille can go into Paris and get a big result, that can go a long way for Marseille trying to keep pace in the Champions League spots. And then this is the big one. Serie A, you have AC Milan, you have Inter Milan, the 2 old rivals that when I was growing up, these 2 are the ones always battling it out with Juventus kind of thrown in for the Serie A. They've had some kind of lower expectation seasons, but now they're both back up here. You can see AC Milan's in third with 51 points, and Inter is in fourth with 50 points. So this is going to be a big one here in Milan because anything can happen with the jump there. You also have other teams like Roma, who's right behind, and then you have teams like Napoli, who's just a little bit ahead. So Juventus kind of way up in the top. But right now, this is going to be a big match here. And as always, I'm sure there's going to be sparks flying because this is going to be a good one. It's going to be a dandy. All right, so let's talk about FC Cincinnati. The club had a big first result last week on the road against Atlanta United. They got the win. Excuse me, they didn't get the win. It was almost like a win, right? But it was like a draw, 1-1 draw. They played a lot better than they did against Seattle. And then in the end, they were able to get this result, a point on the road against the defending MLS Cup champions. Now they're coming home. They take on Portland squad. We'll talk about that in a little bit because that's our feature match. You know it is, right? I mean, the home opener, inaugural MLS home opener for FC Cincinnati. It's going to be the big one. So with that said, we'll get to that in a moment. But a couple other folks getting call-ups. So Frankie Amaya, he gets a call-up for the U.S. U20, U23, one of those two teams. Waston and Cruz both called up for Costa Rica, and then Maddox and Powell are both called up for Jamaica. So shout out to those guys all getting called up for their respective national teams. That's always in itself a pretty big accomplishment to be called up for a national team. All right, so moving on to Columbus Crew. They got their first win. They had a result at home in week 1, and then week 2 they get the win on the road. Zach Steffen had a penalty save, and he also was launched for an assist in the second goal. So I think I saw some reports that was the first time that's ever happened. Our goalie has had an assist and saved a penalty all in the same game. So Zach Steffen continuously doing what he can do and showcasing that he's just one of the best in all of MLS at least. But obviously with that transfer to Manchester City shows that he's really starting to improve even more as a top-rated goalkeeper. Also, along with Steffen, you have Will Trapp and Jossie Zardes making the U.S. call-up, so they'll be all representing the United States national team. Justin Merrim, a call-up to the Iraqi national team. Waylon Francis for Costa Rica, and then you have Abubakar, kid who's going to be the on those youngsters for the U.S., same as Maya from FC Cincinnati. So congrats to all those guys that get in call-ups. It's always a great accomplishment when you get a call-up for your national team. So, both clubs, FC Cincinnati and Columbus Crew, very well represented on folks getting called up for the national team duty. All right, it's time now for your scarf selections. I told you it was going to be kind of a brief, kind of condensed version. First of all, I do want to say who all was the winners and stuff like that from the last time they all played. So on Saturday, Columbus Crew defeated New England Revolution 2-0. Chicago and Orlando City tied 1-1. FC Dallas beat Los Angeles Galaxy 2-0. Houston Dynamo 2-1 winners over Montreal Impact. Real Salt Lake was 1-0 win over Vancouver Whitecaps. Minnesota United on the road defeated San Jose Earthquakes 3-0. Seattle Sounders at home, no trouble with Colorado winning 2-0. Those are those Saturday games. Then the Sunday game is Sporting KC 2-0 over Philadelphia. As I mentioned before, FC Cincinnati on the road against Atlanta United with a 1-1 draw. New York City and DC United 0-0 draw. And then Los Angeles FC, no trouble with Portland Timbers winning 4-1. All right, so scarf selections now. Let's take a look at what's happening this week. So we're going to start in Columbus. Looks like I'm actually going to be at the game tomorrow. So if you see me, say hi. Big game for Columbus because now they're coming home. They have some of that momentum from the win over New England Revolution. They're going to get a really good FC Dallas team that has really displayed that they are both really good. The fact of the matter is, both of these teams are at the upper echelons in the conference at the moment. Both are tied up at the top with 4 points. So this one is kind of one of those pick'ems, and I'm taking the Columbus Crew to get the job done and get a result here at home. I think that that's going to be big time for Caleb Porter's squad and continually moving on here in the early goings of the season. All right, so Chicago Fire, Seattle Sounders. Chicago Fire got the draw with a man down. Seattle Sounders, though, I think they just keep proving that they're just going to be one of the toughest teams to beat this year. Now, they are on the road for the first time, so it will be interesting to see how they play, but I think they're going to still have some momentum. I'm going to take Seattle Sounders to get the win here. All right, Houston Dynamo at home against Vancouver Whitecaps. Whitecaps are in some serious need of getting some sort of result, but Houston Dynamo always just played very well at home. I think we're going to take the Houston Dynamo to get a result in this one. New York Red Bulls and San Jose Earthquakes. So far, Earthquakes got 0 points. They're like Vancouver. They need points. But going on the road to Red Bull Arena against one of the better teams in New York Red Bulls, I don't think it's going to happen. I think this one's going to be Red Bulls New York getting the victory out there. This one's a tough one because Montreal and Orlando City were two teams that are trying to keep pace with playoffs last couple of years. I think that this is really going to be kind of a toss-up one. It's my predictions here say that you can go with the Orlando City win-draw, and I think that's what's going to happen. I think I can see these two teams drawing, but with Orlando City at home, I like those odds for them to get a result. I'm taking Orlando City, especially if Nani's out there doing work, and you can get on the end for Dom Dwyer here. DC United, Real Salt Lake, a big matchup here as two teams that are kind of trying vying for top related things in either conference. This one's in DC though, and if we've learned anything, DC United has proven that they are a very, very tough team to try and take on at home. I'm taking DC United to get the result here. All right, Los Angeles Galaxy, Minnesota United. You know I've been really high on the Loons here, and shout out again to my buddy Matt for the Loons, but I really want to pick the Loons, but I just don't know if they can get a result in Los Angeles. Stuff Arena, the Galaxy just have always been kind of formidable there for the most part. Obviously, I think they lost that game 2-0 in Dallas, so I think they're going to be looking to try and get things revamped back up. I think I'm going to take the Galaxy to get a point in this one. New York City FC and Los Angeles FC. Los Angeles FC has had they had no issues with Portland last week. It seemed like they won that late stunner against Kansas City, and then here they are with a 4-1 victory over Portland. But like I said with Seattle, this is their first trip away from home, and it's far east, all the way to New York City. So this one's going to be an interesting one. But I'm going to take New York City to get the result, at least the maybe draw. But I think New York City FC kind of showed that they're going to be trying to get some points out there, and this is kind of those West Coast traveling all the way to the East Coast. I think New York City's going to get the result. Atlanta United, I know they're disappointed from what happened against FC Cincinnati. They felt that they probably should have won that game. They let up a late equalizer. FC Cincinnati steals a point. So Atlanta United's got work to do. Philadelphia Union, they got a whole host of work to do because they're not having the great early stretch run that they were hoping for. Right now, it's looking for points, I do believe. So for Philadelphia Union coming into Atlanta United, it's going to be a tough environment. Atlanta United, I think, are going to be trying to give their fans some more from what happened last week against FC Cincinnati. I'm going to take Atlanta United to get the win in this one. All right, Toronto FC hosting New England Revolution. New England Revolution had some spurts against Crew, but they looked pretty good. They had the penalty, but it was saved by Stefan. Toronto FC is looking like they're going to be a lot better this year than what they were last year after a really down season. This one, I think, will be kind of an eye-opener for folks around the league to see how exactly good Toronto is going to be. I think I'm going to end up taking the Toronto FC. I think that they're going to be able to get the result that they need, the result that their fans want for that. All right, Sporting Kansas City is on the road against Colorado Rapids. I think this one might be closer than most people think. I think Colorado is going to be a lot better this year, but I think Sporting Kansas City is going to ride that high from getting to the CONCACAF Champions League semifinal. I think they're going to come with some momentum. I think they're going to get the result here on the road. And that brings us to our feature match. FC Cincinnati hosting their first ever inaugural MLS match at Nippert Stadium. It's going to be nuts. I'm going to be there. It's going to be exciting. Shout out to Chelsea's parents who are season ticket holders who are inviting us to the game. So this is going to be big time for FC Cincinnati, especially with the fact that they just got a result against Atlanta United on the road. And now they're coming home. Portland Timbers, they got to be better than what they were against Los Angeles FC, right? They probably will because Los Angeles FC is in that upper echelon of the league. But Portland Timbers is going to be coming in trying to figure out what they need to do. You remember they gave up in that snow game in Denver, they gave up the late goal to tie 3-3 with Colorado Rapids, and then they go to LA and they get demolished 4-1. So they're going to be looking for some results, but they're going to get snow. And then they had it kind of warm in Los Angeles, and now they're going to go to Cincinnati, and it's cold again. It was warm earlier this week, but it's cold again. It's Ohio weather for you. But they're moving all over the place because they have all those road games to start because they're getting the new stands put in. I think that this is going to be a harsh environment. I know they've played in places like this before throughout the league, but I think that FC Cincinnati is going to ride some momentum from what they did last week. I think they're going to come in, they're going to be ready, they're going to be excited to be in front of the home fans, and I'm taking FC Cincinnati to get the win here at home at Nippert Stadium for all of those fans that are coming out. By the way, first, I think 25,000 fans or something like that gets a free jersey rally towel looking thing. It looks kind of funny, but looks like it's cool too. You always got to get your sports memorabilia, so check that out. All right, so as always, this has been Pitchcast, and it's brought to you by the Ohio Sports Gazette. We're talking everything with FC Cincinnati and Columbus Crew, and we're getting you all set for the weekend. Full slate of weekend action here tomorrow. Columbus Crew at home. Sunday, FC Cincinnati at home. So if you're like me, I'm going to both games. You're going to be trooping around the state, all worthy with soccer. So you need to check that out, have a good time, and make sure you're supporting the Ohio teams that are also still in the championship week and those teams that do make the NCAA tournament on Selection Sunday.